Am I wrong for canceling our wedding? We have been engaged for 3 years. My fiancée went on a trip of a lifetime 6 weeks in Europe. She decided that we would take a break in our relationship, allowing me no input in the decision. I called her the day she left and had me blocked, so I canceled our marriage and her moving in with me in March. She called me today to inform me of her arrival time on Thursday morning. To which I answered, what does that have to do with me? And have since blocked her. Edit, I should explain better. I was fine with her trip with her old college sisters. In fact, I dropped at the airport and took her to boarding. That is when she dropped the whole break thing on me. Didn't explain it. Just told me matter of fact and left. I called her the rest of the day and tried to call her when I was able to the rest of the week. After 5 days of ignoring me, I had enough that the wedding was off. She can move in with someone else because it's not going to be me. OOP updates in the comments. Update 1st February 28, 2024, next day, update, ish. We have a group chat among people close to us. Today, I informed them all that our marriage is cancelled and our relationship is over. Did that about 10 a.m. The chat quite literally exploded, starting with questions about what happened, which I answered honestly. About 2 p.m., she started just asking me to call her so we could discuss this. I told her that talking on chat is perfectly fine. She said no, this is something between just us. Still have not spoken with her. Last message from her at 6 p.m. Please pick me up at the airport so we can talk this out as we planned. I answered her, that was your plan, not mine. None of this was my plan. Her flight is at 9 a.m. I wish her luck. Relevant comments. OOP on the X said anything. Yes, she said for the duration of the trip, we are taking a break from our relationship. Got angry and asked her what the hell does that mean. She said we would talk about it when she got back. She waited till she was boarding to tell me about the break part. I was okay with the trip until then. She was going with 5 girls from college. Dimgrun71, not wrong but please follow up. Unless she is still blocked, what is her reaction? I guess if it were me and my partner wanted to take a 6-week break like that, I would dump them too. And if I was asked why, I would say that they had blocked me from their life for 6 weeks and I decided that I was okay with that and much more. But what about your family and friends? Is anyone trying to defend her? OOP, yes, it seems she has called a few friends in our circle of friends. They started blowing up my phone last night, asking what is going on. Does OOP's family know? Told my parents immediately. They were shocked. Our friends, I waited, I shouldn't have, but I was embarrassed and depressed. Spent most of the last few weeks feeling sorry for myself and pain shopping. I sent out a message to our group chat informing them that our wedding and relationship are off. And my phone has been blowing up ever since. I am fear the fuzzy, you're not wrong. But you were not engaged. It doesn't take 3 years. Did you have a date set? OOP, August 10th, we had been saving to buy a house. OOP on the X and her social media presence those 6 weeks, was blocked everywhere. I could think of, this is from a woman who posts pics of her breakfasts. So she posted no pics of a huge 6-week vacation. It's a straight up cover up. On getting the ring back, was my grandmother's, so I want it back. Have a plan, going to make it a term of her getting a face-to-face talk like she wants. And yes, it's going to be in a public place, thinking coffee shop. Update February 2nd 29, 2024, 2 days later. First off, I got my ring back, and it's safe with my mom. Secondly, I would like to thank everyone for keeping me grounded while I was doubting myself. I'm not sure who said it, but someone said that I shouldn't bother with what she did on her trip and focus on her breaking up with me at the airport. Which I did, and was not what she was prepared to argue about, so now she knows how it feels to be blindsided also. Seems her college sisters told her I would be insecure and fight about something I couldn't hope to prove. So when I didn't, she didn't know what to do. At one point, she excused herself to go to the restroom and didn't come back for 20 minutes. Seems the brain trust was at a loss, too. So, do you vacation? Any ideas? Relevant comments. Cronin77, did she attempt to explain or justify her springing a break on you as she boards the plane? Or blocking you on everything? OOP, she even tried to change the subject to what happened on the trip instead of what happened between us at the airport. That is what she was prepared for. John 23456, how far did you let her get? I admit I'm a little interested in the story they came up with. OOP, I told her what she did after she broke up with me wasn't any of my business. So I could care less. Have her parents reached out, spoke with her parents last night. Woke me up, they must have forgotten about the time difference between coasts. They offered to pay for couples therapy to help us work through this rough patch, as her mother called it. Told them no thank you. She ended our relationship. Do her parents know the truth? She told them a watered-down version where I am overreacting. I told them exactly what happened. She made it out that while on vacation, she would be unavailable to communicate with. Where I told them exactly what was said. Has OOP checked her social media since? I stupidly, I know, checked to see if I was still blocked on her socials. And amazing, yesterday, she posted 30 pictures from her trip. And had a full recap of what they did and saw. The pictures are of places, in France, Italy, and Spain. Most are group shots with all 6 of them, like tourist-style one. And others are churches and museums and a few shops. All are during the day, like a tour or something. Who were her friends on the trip? These were her college sorority sisters that chat on Facebook Messenger, but few and far between. I have only met 2 of them a few times, and they were nice enough to me. The ex on reaching out since. It's funny how a woman can do creepy stalker shit and it's fine. But a guy does the same thing, and he is straight going to jail. Baffling to me. She is leaving letters for me with people she knows I will interact with. Like the security guy at my building. With my receptionist at work, the letters themselves are little more than pleading with me to not throw us away for nothing. And professing her love for me. OOP heads to Scotland for a vacation. I am leaving Monday, and my old college roommate lives in Edinburgh, so I'm going to do some pub crawling with him. And see if Scottish food is really a dare. I would like to thank everyone for helping me stand back up. I was depressed and feeling quite worthless. I leave tomorrow for my first trip across the pond, I think they say. I'm going to nerd out with my buddy and explore Edinburgh, which in the pics I looked at seems amazing. I will try to keep my Reddit family updated as much as I can. Once again, thank you all so much. So, craziest thing, my cell phone works just fine in Europe. Who knew?
My wife told me I'm replaceable. I, 30M, have been married to my wife, 29F, for 2 years, and we have known each other for 6. A few weeks ago, we had an argument, and during our disagreement, she told me that I am replaceable. After our argument, she went out with her friends. I have been dealing with some health problems for a while, and the argument stressed me out, leaving me nervous and unwell. I was alone in the house and decided to call the paramedics because I felt that something was really wrong. To sum it up, I suffered a heart attack. In the hospital, they tried to reach my wife, but she didn't respond, likely still upset from our argument. She called later, after coming home, when she found out that I'm not there. After learning of my condition, she came to see me and stayed with me the entire time, constantly crying and holding my hands. After being sent home, she did everything so I could recover faster. However, despite her efforts, I couldn't stop thinking about how she had told me that I'm replaceable. I constantly think about it. I want to confront her about it, but I don't think I'm ready. I'm trying to understand why context matters. In what way or situation is it acceptable to call your partner replaceable? The audacity to even say something like that is beyond me. I will answer some things here. We have no children, I have genetic health problems, external factors also contributed to my problems, I have higher salary than her, so I mostly pay the bills or buy things for our home, I mostly cook and clean, she does it too but mostly me. It's not 50-50, more like 60-40, she isn't actively trying to kill me, I hope so at least, I don't know if she has a fuck buddy. Let's also address the elephant in the room. We had argument about our house, some issues with it. After that we also discussed our priorities, careers and intimacy. At one point discussion was replaced by her venting and saying things not even related to original discussion. I had no issues with her ranting about things until she told me that I'm replaceable. That was the end of conversation. I no longer wanted to talk. She finds my silence terrifying but she didn't stay in the house for long after argument. I don't know when she came home, I woke up in the hospital and she was there. She kept crying and holding my hands. She didn't speak much, she couldn't. On the side note, some people in this comment section have some issues themselves, like some of the comments are just wild, horrifying. Update: I've decided to separate for a month. We will go to a counselor and speak maybe 1 to 2 times a week. If she cares about me, she will accept it and do everything she can to improve our relationship and marriage. If she starts playing around, going out on dates, or if I suspect her of cheating, I will end it. There won't be any forgiveness or second chances. I will make an update post sometime in the future. So many of you reached out and offered support and advice. I think the least I can do is provide you with the update. Thank you all very much.
Top comments. Editor's note: top comments are from the same user below. Comment number 1, Pretty Pandemonium. My husband once said to me, wives are replaceable. Mothers are not. Mom will always win. Within the year, our 9-year marriage collapsed. The context was finding out how deeply involved his mother was in our marriage, arguments, decisions, etc. We were not arguing, but having a discussion about how it wasn't right to basically have a third person in the marriage, that it was between the two of us. The way I found out was during a discussion about investments we had made. I got up from the table we were talking at, and found his phone on the counter, with MOM showing on screen. He'd called her and had her listen in to our discussion, so he could take it to her after we were done. I disconnected the call without comment, and she called back immediately. He vehemently disagreed that it wasn't right, and made that statement to me, basically stating that it was he and his mom against me, and I'd always lose. While she was still on the phone listening in, it was like a gut punch. It opened my eyes to a lot of little things that eventually led to filing for divorce. He was stunned. His mom called me immediately and said, "You can't do that." Well, yes I can. And did. As a petty move, I served his mother the divorce papers at the same time, so she could be involved in the divorce. LOL. $50 well spent in my opinion. She came to our hearing and was so vocal about what she thought was right or wrong, that the judge ordered her out of the courtroom. LOL. He's her full-time problem now. They've been living together since the separation, and she's miserable about it. They deserve each other.
Comment number 2, commenter 2, Jesus. Sounds like a giant mama's boy. Nothing wrong with being close to parent or family. But this is some codependency shit. I'm surprised you never saw any signs early in the relationship.
Pretty Pandemonium. I did not. His mom was overseas for 2 years when I met him. When we got married, I'd met her 4 times, since she traveled all the time. She was newly retired and ready to see the world, which I thought was very cool. I really liked her as a mother-in-law, thought she was interesting and fun to chat with or visit. About 2 years before our split, things changed. She lived on the opposite coast from us, so we weren't seeing her but twice a year. But all of a sudden it was Mom said. And Mom thinks. All the time. Then he was using her opinion on things too, such as when we went to buy a car. I was hearing Mom researched this one and says. Mom said that dealership has bad reviews. And I'm thinking, why is Mom a part of so many of our conversations, and how does Mom know about this? You heard how it all ended, LOL, but no, not really. It wasn't until about 2 or so years toward the end that they got this weird thing going. Comment number 3, Pretty Pandemonium. It was interesting. First, she actually thanked me for serving her the papers, LOL. That was totally a bitch move on my part, but she called to say thank you, so she'd know what was what in the divorce. I didn't serve her anything else, just the initial summons. In the courtroom, she told the judge she'd been subpoenaed to testify, LOL. That's how she saw it. But she also kept telling the judge he had the law wrong, loudly declared things unfair, interrupted court personnel, wanted her name and address on file for further notifications from the court, and so on. The judge finally called her and was exquisitely sarcastic. It's been a long time, so I do not remember exact words, but it was along the lines of, "Ma'am, while it is obvious to myself and other members of the court that you have a vested interest in the outcome of this dissolution, and a vague understanding of courtroom procedure, your knowledge of the law is sorely lacking. along with your ability to show respect. At this time, I'm asking the bailiff to escort you to the bench outside the doors, and if we are in need of your legal knowledge, we shall call for your assistance. Like I said, I don't remember the exact words, but that isn't far off, LMAO. It took me a minute to realize what had happened because the judge was so courteous, respectful, with his voice sounding as if she meant everything to him, while telling her to GTFO. I wish I had mad skills like that. LOL. Comment number 4, pretty pandemonium, there is more in the thread. I do relate the courtroom, the judge removing her. On Reddit you never know what is going to grab people. I am so surprised at the response to this long ago event. I never expected this much response. You can write a well thought out, articulate comment and, nothing. Dash off a little memory sparked by the word replaceable and, wow. Honestly, I'm not really up to date on how they are doing now. Through word of mouth, I know they still live together, even moved to Florida at some point. I know she's very unhappy about it, and that just makes me giddy, sometimes, LOL. I really liked her as a MIL until all this started, but she brought this on. Everyone is saying he was a mama's boy, but he really wasn't. She lived in Germany for the first 2 years of our marriage, and even when she came back to the US, we only saw her twice a year. We'd call her every few weeks to see how she was doing since she was getting older, and that was it. Then for some reason he got mommy fever and started involving her in everything. Until I saw the phone line was open so she could hear everything we were discussing. I'm rambling, LOL, sorry, I'm really tired. But yeah, keep reading the thread, you'll see how it went down in court. Have a terrific week. I'm off to sleep, laughing face.
Update March 9, 2024, 1.5 months later, as promised, here's an update on my situation. I won't go into much detail, just the most important things. Physically, I'm doing great. I've started working out again, although at a slower pace than before. With time, it will get better. Separation really helped me a lot. Firstly, I might sound selfish, but I only worried about myself, so I did everything for myself. At first, it was a different feeling. I felt alone for the first time in a really long time and I needed a few days to get used to it. After I got used to it, it was actually quite nice. I got to do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. I bought myself a lot of things, redecorated a bit, changed some old things, and honestly, I liked it. There was no stress, no arguments, no problems. It was peaceful and quiet. I also got myself a cat, and the two of us get along really well. I spoke to my wife on a weekly basis. We also went to a counselor, which really changed a lot of things. Whenever we went there, I laid all cards on the table. I was really honest, maybe too honest, and I said a lot of things that had accumulated over time, every annoyance, issue, pretty much everything I thought could be way better. My wife took the separation really hard. It was really bad. For the first few days, she was fine or she pretended to be, but as time progressed, it was clear she wasn't doing well. What I did was whenever we went to a counselor, I focused only on trying to figure out my marriage and issues with it, but as soon as I left the counselor, I checked out. Like a switch, I didn't want to bring any of it home and disturb my peace. My wife also started individual therapy for her own mental health and issues that have been present for some time. I asked her if she cheated on me, and honestly, I expected some outburst of rage or yelling, but there wasn't any of it. She was really sweet and told me no, and that she understands why I might think that. And she offered her phone and her social media accounts for me to check. For some reason, I decided to be a dick, and I told her that maybe she deleted and covered her tracks. She has no proof of anything. Again, no yelling or anything, just a really sad look in her eyes. I realized that I went too far, and I apologized. Time passed, and I decided to let it go. So I told her that I forgive her and that I will give her another chance. Honestly, I wanted some form of revenge, but while revenge might be sweet, everything after it is bitter. I also told her that I won't forget her words. Anyway, she came back to my house, and everything changed. No longer am I doing most of the stuff. She now works just as hard, maybe even more than me, and she doesn't allow me to do certain things, much to my annoyance. We will continue going to a counselor for a little bit longer, and she is still going to her individual therapy. While I liked being alone, I truly missed her. I missed her hair, her smile, her eyes, and now I find myself looking at her and paying attention to everything she does. I guess separation made us appreciate each other way more than before. Maybe we took each other for granted, and we didn't value each other until we split. I think we fell in love again. I can't describe it, but each hug, each touch feels different, like it radiates with sincerity and love. As for the future, I'm planning a trip in secret as a surprise, so we can go out of town for a few days, just the two of us. Time alone really helped me relax and not worry about unimportant things. I focused on myself and what I want my marriage to be, and my life. So now, I'm going to work towards that. We really learned to communicate much better than before. We became much more open towards each other. More vulnerable. I think it will help us going forward. I guess after all, it turns out that I'm not so easily replaceable.